Thank you for making it out. Just recording now. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for folks who came early and got to hear our chit chat. It's going to be a fascinating conversation with Leslie. So before we start, in the chat, I want you to, for those who are in the Zoom room, please enter your name, what city you're coming from. If you want to network, you can add your LinkedIn profile as well. For those who are watching on live stream, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, we want you in the conversation as well. So in the comment section, wherever platform you're on, introduce yourself. What's your name? What city you're coming from? Anything else we need to know as well. And if you want to connect, put your LinkedIn profile. And also feel free to ask questions as well, and I'll be checking them throughout the conversation. So quick activity, before we always start, we always do a quick quiz. For those who are in the live Zoom audience, top right-hand side, put this on gallery mode, so you should see a grid. Folks who are on live, our Zoom room, turn on your videos if you can. And for those who are watching on the live stream, you could just type in yes or no, okay? So for those who are in the live Zoom audience, raise both hands like this if the answer is yes, okay? And put it down if the answer is no. First question, being your authentic self is encouraged in corporate America. Okay. I feel I can be my authentic self in corporate America. Now that I'm older, I feel more comfortable being my authentic self at work and at home. I could be far more focused and confident at work if I didn't need the need to fake it. I'm exhausted by the energy required to try to be someone or something that I'm not. The people I respect the most at work and at home are the ones who seem to be the most honest, human, and accessible. I'd rather be recognized and promoted in appreciation of who I really am than succeed because I was good at putting up a false front. Some people get ahead because they play the role well. Thank you, everyone. So top right-hand side, if you can just put this on speaker mode, so you should probably just see me for now, and then I will pin Leslie in a second. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for making it out. Sorry if my voice is a little weird. I'm getting over a cold. So welcome to this latest microlearning, where we bring subject matter experts to discuss topics that are really important to succeed in business life or starting a business. So what the heck is a microlearning? It's a small training and development that focuses on offering one bite-sized small learning unit with just the right amount of information to help learners achieve a goal. This is not a webinar where you are passively listening. We want you to immediately take 1, 2, 3 actions after we hang up. And it could be, working on being your authentic self at work. It could be definitely to pick up Swagger and read it from beginning to end. I'm so excited to have Leslie as a guest speaker to talk about Swagger, unleashing everything you are and becoming everything you want. This is actually the second time we had Leslie, and she was one of my personal favorite speakers. And we had so many people say, we need to bring Leslie back. We need to bring Leslie back. So she's back. Her book, Swagger, was definitely one of my most favorite books in 2021. In the chat, I put in the link so you can purchase it. And for those who are on live stream after the event or during the event, I'll put the link to the book as well. Before we begin, a quick poll for the audience. And for those who are on live stream, I want you to participate too, so put it in the comment. What's your definition? And don't press send until I tell you. So type it in right now, but don't press send until I tell you. What's your definition of swagger? What's your definition of swagger? And I want you to type it in right now, but don't press send yet. Whatever your definition of swagger, type it in the comments. I'm going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Send. being authentic, self-confidence, walk like you care, coolness, confident, charisma, full of confidence. I see a lot of confidence. I think that's kind of natural charisma. The thing that you can do that no one else. I like that. That's a good one. I see a lot of confidence and charismatic, being true to yourself. So awesome. So I normally don't share PowerPoints, but I'm going to share something really quick. While promoting this event, I basically put a picture up of my daughter, Morgan.
To stay that.
Yes. So I don't know if you guys can see that, right? Can you guys see the picture? So you can obviously tell who Morgan is. She's the one on the left, right? So that's my daughter, Morgan. And this is when she was in preschool. So she was 4 at this time. I don't know where she got the pose. She kind of had that, Kardashian pose, with the leg out in the front. And she's full swagger. On the right, you could tell which one me. I'm her on the bottom right with the rice bowl haircut. So those are my two brothers, Van and Con, and we have like matching rice bowl haircuts. But me and Morgan are at the same age in this photo. Would not say I have swagger at all. So it was kind of interesting because when I first thought about what swagger meant, I had a totally different definition before I picked up Leslie's book. And so before I read Leslie's book, I didn't really know what to expect. When I first saw the title, when I thought of swagger, I kind of thought about like loud, being self-confident. And I think about kind of how I was back in the day, and I definitely didn't feel like I had swagger. Definitely didn't have confidence, right? It wasn't until I got older that I really realized that being my authentic self is what swagger meant. And that I found that definition from reading this book as well. And one of the quotes in the beginning of the book was really powerful. And it's a quote from Brené Brown. Authenticity is a daily practice of letting go of who we think we are supposed to be and embracing who we are. So it's letting go of what we think we were supposed to be and becoming who we truly are. And I think I realized, probably as I got older, right? Because I think I used to shapeshift, especially in my early 20s. I was in the music industry for a while. I was in the advertising industry that was predominantly male. And I always felt like I had to be someone else. I had to shapeshift into someone else to be successful. And the more I did that, especially when I was in the music industry, right? Because I'm not someone who likes to be out. I don't like going out. And I felt like I had to be someone else to be successful. I never felt comfortable. And I just remember kind of slowly dying inside. And it wasn't until I really realized that being my authentic self, flaws and all, socially awkward, a little bit, a big introvert, that I had to embrace who I was. And it was at that point where I could fully really enjoy what I do, creating community of 7 in a lot of ways. And so for me, getting laid off 2 years ago when I was at Fortune was probably one of the big milestones, because up until that point, I always felt like I had to be an executive land or the mom land. And there's different types of lands out there. And I realized as I got older that I had to be who I was authentically in any room I went into, right? That I couldn't shapeshift into someone else, even if it brought me success, because ultimately it wouldn't bring me happiness if I had to be someone that I wasn't, if that makes sense. So I found liberation when I stopped giving a shit about what other people thought of me, right? And that true confidence is about being comfortable in your own skin. And it's not, your happiness shouldn't be based on how many likes you get, or, how many promotions you get, or how many pay raises you get. True confidence, true swagger is about being authentically you. And I think this is what's so powerful about Leslie's book. So without further ado, I am so excited to introduce my friend Leslie. Let me pin you real quick, my dear. Hi, Leslie. So Leslie is a former TV host. She was an advertising creative director turned training guru. And now she's a best-selling author and painter. Well, we'll continue that conversation in a second. Leslie has spent a decade traveling the globe with her award-winning company Combustion, where she served as a president and chief fire starter, working with executives and teams from top organizations like Google, Disney, PepsiCo, TD Bank, Uber, HBO, Lenovo, and more. She turned technologists into creative forces, bankers into storytellers, and has brought a serious dose of badassness to boardrooms everywhere. She's fueled by her unrelenting passion for developing human potential. She's now a swagger coach, author of Swagger, Unleash Everything You Are and Become Everything You Want. She's spoken all over the world. Her book has hit the Wall Street Journal and US Today bestseller list and is also an Amazon #1 bookseller. She's been called Better Than Therapy, a rock star, ass kicking, a force of nature, and even a witch. So Leslie, welcome. Big round of applause for Leslie. Hello, Leslie. So this is your second time back. Welcome back. Has your definition of swagger changed since we last spoke? And for those who might be new to the swagger conversation, who weren't in the first conversation we had with you, has it changed or is it the same, or has it morphed?
It's the same. It's the same. I define swagger as the ability to manifest who you really are and hold on to it in the face of all of that psychological crap that's going to try and come forward, regardless of the situation or environment. So it means you've got one face, one truth, one heart, and no matter what's going on around you, that's what it is. So you are unchanged by all the stuff that's happening around you. It doesn't change you. It doesn't force you to be someone or something that you're not. And it doesn't get in your head. You're like, you do you, boo. I'm going to do me. It's all good. It's all good. That's what swagger is.
So how do you kind of remain your swagalicious, whatever it is, even though you might be in an environment like, when I ask people to raise their hand if corporate America supports you being your authentic self. And there was a mixture, but there's a lot of people who raise their hand saying you can't really be your authentic self. You have to be. I think about when I was in the music industry, I had to play a completely different role while I was in the music industry. That wasn't really me, but I had to kind of play that part. Like, how do you kind of remain who you are in industries or the corporate world that wants you to kind of be a certain kind of homogenized version of success or corporate America?
Well, they can want. Just because they want doesn't mean they get. No one can force you to be something that you're not. And very often, in fact, it's not that world is demanding that we are something that we aren't. It's the story that we tell ourselves about the only way I'm going to be respected, or the only way I'm going to be appreciated, or the only way I'm going to be promoted, or the only way I'm going to be validated is if I behave in a certain kind of way, because I'm looking around and those seem to be the people who are getting the promotions or getting the recognition. So I feel like I have to be like them in order to get what I want or need. But 9 times out of 10, that's not actually true. And so many of the people who have found success in the very organizations that we're criticizing are people who have been their authentic selves the entire time. It's just the way that they were. And I think that partially the problem is that we tell ourselves that that's the only way that we're going to be able to get ahead. And it's just not true. Swagger needs no permission. And swagger is not about, taking off your clothes, running around screaming, I must speak my truth and you all must listen to me. And you all, it's not about barfing, everything about yourself onto the boardroom table every 2 seconds. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just the fact that you don't allow your environment to force you into these personas, or force you into a place of deep insecurity, or force you into a box or whatever. There's a big difference between being professional and being unprofessional. You can have swagger and be incredibly professional. In my definition, professionalism is showing up, bringing 100% to the party, being on your performance A game, being accountable for the work that you do, um, contributing to the collective, not just your own needs, but the needs of the collective, supporting other people, being respectful of other people, doing the best work you can. That's what being professional is. I don't hear anything in that asks you to sublimate the real you. You know,
Love,
those two things don't even correlate, and yet it's what people tell themselves. So
I
we
love
need to
that.
kind of unpack it and recognize this is this and this is that. And I mean, my company, knock wood, until the pandemic, happening. But I mean, 15 years I've been doing what I do, and I'm in every corporation that you could possibly imagine, and I am 100% that bitch. I am me 100%. I do not conform to anything. I do not follow any rules. I make up the rules. I change the rules. I am there for the people. I deliver, with excellence. And when people question my methods, or they say, Leslie, you can't swear. And I go, you know what? You have to let me do my good work. If you want me to get results, you have to let me do my good work. And if after I've done what I do, if I didn't get the results, then let's talk about it. But let me do my good work. And people go, okay. And then I do my good work and everybody's happy. And then they go, okay, do what you do. That's performing at that professional level of excellence. But it's not about conforming.
Love that. And the our board is kind of blowing up, and I just want to read some of them. Swagger needs no permission. We love that quote from you. Bridget, be unapologetically you, never shrink yourself for anyone. And Dave, we need to be doing what we love and loving what we do. Then we can own that swagger. Awesome. So since writing the book, we know that your definition of swagger hasn't changed. What have you learned since writing that book? How has your life changed? Because, you now are a award-winning, best-selling author. You're traveling. What has changed since you've written the book?
Well, in some ways, things haven't changed because I've been locked down for a lot of it. I think I remember I wrote the book before the pandemic, and then it was launched during the pandemic. And I remember thinking, oy vey, you have to launch a book in a pandemic, and all of these opportunities are going to be lost to me, and so on. But like in everything in life, it turns out that the book was launched exactly when people needed it, in alignment with the Great Resignation, in alignment with us having no choice but to show the world who we really are, because we were inviting people into our homes and our lives and our crazy, chaotic, hot messes that were the truth about us. We started talking about mental health. We started talking about diversity and inclusion. All of those things became part of the conversation, and realness was at the forefront of all those conversations. Authenticity had a place on the stage that it really hadn't had before. So I feel like my book, was in the hands of people at exactly the right time, because it gave them a roadmap for how to do it with support, because it can be really scary. And I always dreamt of the book being life changing for people. I think that's what every author wants when they write a book, particularly like this. But you don't know how people are going to take it. You don't know if it's going to resonate. You don't know if people are going to be able to action it. And I have had such incredible feedback. The things that people have said to me about how this book has impacted their lives, or their career choices, or their big decisions, how it's made their lives better and happier. I mean, come on, shut up. That is just the most incredible thing on the planet. It's just validation for a concept that I'm just a conduit for. I didn't make up this idea of being authentic gives you a better life. I just packaged it in a particular way and gave people tools and techniques and exercises and practices to be able to do it. I'm just really grateful that I was able to be a conduit for it.
Yeah. So I feel like you epitomize the ideals of your book in a lot of ways. You actually started painting recently. Tell us about that journey, because I think it's fascinating, and how swagger inspired you to start painting.
I'm someone I'm an entrepreneur, so work is like my hobby. That's all I've done aside from boxing. I'm a passionate amateur boxer, but during the pandemic, I was losing my mind. I couldn't go out into the world and train. I was having to do that whole kind of rethinking, okay, how am I going to run my business and so on. And I am the Energizer Bunny. And my husband was like, okay, sweetie, you need to distract. And so he said, you should paint. I was like, but babe, have you met me? Like, I have zero artistic skills. I've never taken a drawing class or a painting class. I cannot do art. I'm highly creative, but I'm not artistic per se. He was like, yeah, but it could be fun. Just do it. And so he actually bought me some paints. And I painted a few ugly trees and I was like, I guess it's fine. It's nothing special. And then in December, just this past December, I was up at my cottage for like a month leading up to the holidays. I took all my paints with me and I thought, I'm going to try and paint a self-portrait just for fun. So I found a picture of myself and I painstakingly drew everything out and then I painted it and it was like, okay, it was meh. But I fell in love with the examination, the deep examination of the face. And not just because it was my face, but it was a face because I love people so much. It was like, oh, the eyes and what are they saying and the tilt of the head and all that kind of stuff. And then I thought, okay, maybe portraits are my thing because I love people so much. So I started to paint portraits. I would take existing portraits because I had to learn like, where do eyes go? And how do you put a surround on the face? And where does the mouth go? And what's the purport? Like, I know nothing. I know nothing about color theory. I know nothing about drawing. And something magical happened as I was learning. Every time I painted something, I would immediately put it on social and then talk about what I'd learned. Because I didn't care what people had to say about it. Do they like it or do they not? It was completely irrelevant to me. It was much more about, hey, I'm going through this cool exercise, this journey, and here's what I learned about creativity today, or here's what I learned about where you put eyes on a face or whatever, and just wanted to use it as a way to inspire people, just to let go. Just to let go and put stuff out there, because that's what I'm saying to people is put yourself out there, just let it go. So being someone who walks the talk, I just kept putting it out there, and people responded beautifully in their own unique ways. Everybody had a different favorite, and then people started to be inspired by it. And there are people in this very room who have picked up paints as a result of what they saw. And then a very good friend of mine that some of you may be familiar with, a guy named Phil Jones, who's an author and a speaker and amazing. He reached out to me and he said, I want to buy one of your portraits. I was like, oh, dude, you can have one of my portraits. You're a dear friend of mine. He said, no, I have to respect your work. I was like, my work. It's so funny. Okay. And he said, I'll make a donation to charity in exchange for one of your portraits. I was like, sold. Are you kidding me? And then I shared that story because I thought it was such a cool story. And then all kinds of people started asking to buy the portraits. I've now sold 6 portraits, like half of them to people I don't know. And I've been painting like a fiend. I probably do when I'm not busy, I'll do 5 a week. When I'm busy, I'll do 2 a week. They get better and different all the time. Everybody has a different favorite. And I continue to just share what I'm learning in the journey, and in the hopes that it's going to inspire somebody to just take a risk to do something that they've never done before and not give a shit about what anybody else has to say about it. Just not give a shit. You don't have to share it with the world if you don't want to, but if you do, you share it for you and say, hey, look what I'm doing. This is fun. This is cool. Get on the bus or get out, And by the way, if somebody criticized my paintings on social, you know what I do? Delete. Because I can. Because I can.
You know what I love about this, Leslie, is recently I posted something, and it's basically this meme. You've probably seen it around, and it was basically with this quote: "Be brave enough to suck at something new," right? And I think this is kind of the for the folks who are kind of watching this right now can learn from this, is that just be okay with sucking. Because everyone starts from somewhere. No one is born a savant.
Everyone starts from nothing.
Exactly. Everyone
starts from
right.
I starts from the place of I have no freaking clue.
Exactly.
Everybody.
Exactly. And I think as we get older, there's kind of this need for perfection. And one of my favorite quotes was from one of our guest speakers, and he was saying that the opposite of the opposite of fun is perfection. And people are afraid. There's perfection and fame. Like, so you don't start something. And I think about my fear of karaoke, which I've told you guys about. I'm no longer afraid of karaoke, but I used to be so afraid of karaoke because I didn't want to look stupid. And so my friends would go out karaoke. I'd be like, no, I'm staying home. But it's that fear. And that's the same thing with painting or trying anything new. If you have this need to be the best or to be perfect, you're not going to go many places. But if you have this mentality of let's have fun, let's experiment, it becomes like, a lot easier to try and to grow into something that you've never even, dug into before.
This is something that happens, especially in the corporate world, is that we've somehow developed this shame around where we are in our journey. We always feel like we somehow have to be further along or farther ahead. And that's why we get into the fake it till you make it thing. That's why that mindset becomes so prevalent, because we always feel like we have to pretend that we are more adept, more accomplished, more competent, more skilled than we actually are in order to earn a place, the step ahead. But the truth is, we are further along than we were 2 years ago, and we are going to be further along still in 2 years from now. But you can't be present in your own life unless you're willing to embrace where you are at this moment and like revel in it and go, look at me, I'm a badass. Look how far I've come from a year ago or 2 years ago. This is amazing. Check me out. Yeah, I want to be further along and I'll get there. But if I'm not so busy trying to fake it till you make it, which by the way does not work, and you cannot do that. People who have heard me speak know that I say this every time. You cannot fake confidence, which is what you're trying to trick people into believing that you have. The only way you can experience true confidence is as a result of true competence. And the only way you can develop competence is by doing. You got to do. There's no shortcut. And if we try and shortcut it and go into that fake it till you make it thing, we leave ourselves open to the imposter syndrome. Like we lie on the floor, just imposter syndrome, just dance all over me, because we are being imposters in that moment. And someone may say, hey, wait a second, you don't know as much as you're saying, you're like, oh shit, you're right. I really don't. And so why would you do that to yourself? Instead of saying, no, this is where I am right now. I'm owning it. I'm really good where I am. Here's what I want to learn. And when you're not running around saying to everybody, oh, I got it, I'm on it, I know everything, you open up the potential to ask people for help. Because you can say, you have all of this knowledge in your heads and you're amazing and you're further along in your journey. Could I be so humble as to sit at your feet and gather some of this knowledge and share it with other people and so on and so forth? That's how you build the competency that you're seeking. There's no other way to be able to do that. So instead of fake it till you make it, you got to feel it till you find it. Feel it till you find it. Keep feeling your way through it and be good with it. And don't let anybody shame you, because those assholes who try and shame you, they also came from a place of, I got nothing, I have no idea. So who's kidding who? This is fact about how we evolve.
And a lot of times it's the ones that are the assholes and the toxic bosses and the toxic coworkers are the ones who are incompetent, and they, hide behind their insecurities by making other people feel low, right?
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely.
I've kind of noticed.
And to distract. So they point the finger at you, so nobody points the finger at them and says, wait a second, you don't know what you're talking about. Because if they're busy telling everyone, oh, I know it, I got it, or whatever, they think they're making themselves bulletproof, and they'll point a finger at you. That to me is such a red flag. Whenever somebody's doing that, I'm like, oh, deeply, deeply, deeply insecure, deeply concerned that they're going to be found out. And then, you know what? My response is compassion. I go, oh, poor you. That's not fun to feel like that. It's not fun to be like that. I find I've got like asshole love. When people behave like that, I know that they're overcompensating, they're afraid of something, they're insecure, and I just want to go take the thorn out of their paw, hug them, tell them that they're okay, that they're safe with me, that they don't have to put up that huge front. I don't get mad at it. I really don't, because I know where it comes from. It comes from a place that's not fun to be, So I'd rather go there with them and love on them than get mad at it.
You're so much better than me, because I was kind of the bully of bullies in corporate America. I would be like, in meetings, you're an asshole.
Yeah. Oh, no. I would call somebody out. I would say, hey, That's not acceptable. Like that is
Yeah.
not acceptable. But then I would go around after and go, dude,
Yeah.
what was going on there? Like, you know, what was that all about? And trying to get the truth out of it so we could have a real conversation. But you
I
don't do
think,
it in the room, you know, don't do it
yes,
in the room. It's not going to go well.
I think there's also a big leadership kind of lesson in this too. You know, because just in my experience too, the best leaders are the ones that are vulnerable. Because when you as a leader can admit to your mistakes, your vulnerabilities, your fears, it gives that permission to your team. And you know, we talk a lot about psychological safety, right? The way we create psychological safety in any kind of workplace is to kind of have this culture where it's okay to make mistakes, just learn from them, grow,
Yeah.
progress,
Yeah.
right?
Or just acceptance that we are perfectly imperfect. And there is no such thing as getting it right every time. There's no such thing as perfection. So why do we even waste our energy aspiring to something that's it's like saying, well, I'm not going to take the bus. I'm going to wait for the next unicorn to come along. You know, I'd really rather ride a unicorn. Or you're going to be waiting a long time. A long time.
Yeah. So in your book, you talk a lot about, and I think before we got on, you talked a lot about swagger blockers and different drivers. Um, you know, can you kind of go over some of like what are the blockers and drivers to swagger? Because I think for the folks who are kind of new to this and might not have read the book yet, to kind of go over that might be helpful.
Sure thing. So I want you to imagine that the real you is stuck inside, you know, the you that comes out to play when you feel utterly safe, when you're with the people who've known you your whole life and have seen it all and you can't fool and stuff. That's the real you. But we tuck it away behind all of these layers, some of our own making, some imposed by the world, but it we hide behind all of them because they're safe, but they become blockers. You know, we think that if we can hide ourselves away, we're not going to have to deal with these things. But whenever the real us tries to come out and play, they have to navigate and negotiate through these blockers. And each one is a bitch. They are a bitch. So let's start with the one that is furthest from the real us, but closest to the rest of the world. And that's persona. That's that heavy coat that we put on every morning, you know, before we go into work that tells us we have to walk, talk, act, dress, you know, behave a certain way in order to be respected and accepted and so on and so forth. I mean, it literally means the mask. It's the thing that we put on. And ironically, it's the thing that separates us from the real us from the world the most, because you cannot connect with somebody who is wearing a mask. The very thing that you're dreaming of, that kind of trust and connection that is built through authenticity. As soon as you've got the mask on, you ain't getting none of it. It's not possible. So persona is the first blocker. The next one is ambition. Now, do not get me wrong. I am all for achieving. I'm all for success. I'm all for aspiration. I'm all for going after everything that you want, getting it. Yes, girls and boys, go get it. But not when and if it comes at the cost of your authenticity. Because the person that you become in pursuit of those goals is who you end up being stuck with when you get there. This is often what happens when leaders become assholes. They didn't start off being assholes. They have progressively lost connection with themselves because of how they feel they believe they had to behave in order to achieve their goals. And that happens when we focus upwards. We're like always next rung of the ladder. What's up there? Got to get up there, got to get up there. And when we're so fixated upwards, we don't focus inwards, which where we should, because you know self-awareness is everything. We don't focus left and right on our colleagues and peers because hey, they're of no use to us. We're too busy trying to get up there. And we sure as hell don't focus downwards to our followers. And if you flip that script and you say, I'm not going to worry about ambition per se. I'm going to be in my place of excellence. You know, I'm going to kick ass at everything that I do. I'm going to support my colleagues and peers. I'm going to focus on the development, the well-being of the people who look to me to support, because followers have a choice to follow. You cannot be a leader without followers, and they have a choice, right? If I focus on all of those things, I tell you what, they're going to lift you. Everything around you is going to lift you to the next level that you want to be at. And yes, you can go and ask for what you want, for the next role, the next title, whatever, but be real. Don't start sacrificing parts of yourself in order to achieve it. So ambition can be a swagger blocker in that sense. The next, and you can see how ambition reinforces the need for persona. They're very much linked. The next blocker is insecurity. It's all the what ifs. What if I don't walk, talk, behave, act a certain way? What if people judge me? What if I'm not great? What if I'm not perfect? What if people see? What if? There are no answers in insecurity. There are only those questions. And they're designed to make us cuckoo. Like to keep, it's like it being in the emotional psychological spin dryer. Because there are no answers. There's just, I'm in a place of absolute uncertainty. And I just want to make it stop. So if I behave like other people behave, and I see that's working for them, then I can tell myself that it's working for me. Maybe the voices in my head will stop. Maybe all the what ifs will stop if I sacrifice who I am for something that is already known. That's why, the insecurity is so connected to ambition, because we tell ourselves that if we can get to that next level, we can get that title, we can get that validation, we can get all of that, then I'll feel better. No, you won't. It's only going to get worse because the stakes are now higher and you have further to fall. So that is not the answer to quieting the voices of insecurity. So insecurity reinforcing ambition, reinforcing persona. The next layer in is fear. Fear is the answer to the what if question. And fear always says bad things are going to happen. The worst possible thing that you can imagine, that's what's going to happen to you. So your imagination runs wild about what if I don't walk, talk, blah, 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 blah. Fear is going to say you're going to end up homeless on the street. Oh, it's going to go horribly, horribly, horribly wrong. And everything that you love is going to be lost. And it's just going to be terrible, because the brain has a default setting that says better safe than sorry. And also, only that which has been tested and proven equals good. If it has not been tested and proven, by definition, it equals bad. So when you're trying to show the world who you really are, you're taking a risk. You're trying something new. And your entire system is going to go, don't do it. Bad things are going to happen. Homeless on the street, right? And fear is not capable of context. It can't differentiate between a tiger is going to eat me fear and my boss is going to give me a side eye, or I'm going to have to change my offering, or I'm going to have to, whatever the contextual thing is. Okay. So it's a massive blocker. Fear, reinforcing insecurity, and so on. The last blocker in is a big one. It's the castle gate. It's scar tissue. It's pain, because pain is proof. Pain says, oh, I tried that one time. Did not go well. Hurt like a bitch. I am not going back there. Fool me twice. Nah, not on my watch. But what we forget, and this is a big one, so listen to this. Pain is memory. That's all that pain is. It's memory. It's the memory of what happened before and how you felt about it then. But everything has changed. As soon as you change one thing in your life, everything changes. And right here, right now, in this moment, in this situation, just because something caused you pain in the past does not mean it's going to cause you pain again. And in fact, there's a really good chance that it's not going to cause you pain again, because you've experienced it before and you have different context for it. Plus, you survived it. So it can't get you. It can't take you down, because you survived it before. You will survive it again. That's the secret about pain, that most people spend all of their lives in absolute avoidance of pain, because the memory of it is so, who wants to go running towards pain again? You put your hand on the stove once, you don't want to put your hand on the stove again. But if it's a completely different heat source and there's a grate on the top of it and whatever, yes, you could put your hand there. It's no longer the same stove or the same circumstances as before. Okay, so the real you has to navigate and negotiate through all of these swagger blockers in order to be seen and appreciated by the world. And each one's going to take its hit. So even if the real you is this roar on the inside and you want to express everything that you are, by the time it gets the crap kicked out of it through each of the blockers, it comes out like a little squeak, So it loses its power. And then you're then concerned about how are people going to react to my little squeak. And even if people go, oh my God, best squeak ever, Good for you for squeaking in that circumstance. I heard you loud and clear. You then have to take that reassurance or that validation, and you have to move it back through all those mofo blockers to allow it to go back into the real you and fill you up and build that confidence. And you're going to take a hit with everything coming in. Like if you take a risk at work, you speak out in a meeting, or you say something to a boss, or you stand up for what you believe in, and even if people say that was great, you're awesome, I guarantee you that what's going to happen right after is that you're going to go, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. I mean, maybe they're just saying that I was brave because they don't want to look bad. And maybe they're really secretly talking about me behind my back and going, what an idiot. And maybe, oh my God, I am such an idiot. Why do I do that every time? Why do I do it? I stick my head up and then I get a beat. I'm never doing that again. And this is why the real us can stay trapped in that center. Fortunately, we have 3 secret weapons at our disposal. And they're the things that are going to carry our swagger out into the world. And we have to trust them and use them as such. The first one is our truth. Because nobody's truth is like ours. Impossible. Nobody has our experience, our context, our everything. So us speaking our truth, only we can do it. Thus, we are entitled to do it. And no one can tell us we cannot. And the world wants and needs to hear it because it's 100% unique. There is no such thing as absolute truth. You know, maybe the sky is north, but not even, depends on where you are in the world, right? Truth is a very subjective thing. But when you speak it for yourself, it is all you have to show the world who you really are. And the beautiful thing about truth is that if you can get it to land, people will pay attention to you. But if your truth is only good for you, people aren't going to listen. They're not going to care. Fundamentally, we all care about ourselves first. And so if my truth is only for me, other people are like, well, why should I care about that? So when you're speaking this truth, your truth in this world, the secret is you got to figure out how to make it, how to reframe it, not change it, not sublimate it, not diminish it, but reframe it in such a way that it's not just good for you, it's good for the other, the collective, and the greater good. And I guarantee you'll find a way to reframe that. I guarantee. And if not, if it's just for you, shut it. Nobody wants to hear it. Go talk to yourself. It's all good. Nobody else needs to hear it though. It's not relevant to anybody else. Okay. You also have to learn when, where, and to whom you speak your truth, because you want it to land. And that's a skill like anything else that can be developed. And I have like a whole chapter about that in my book, about how to speak your truth in the way that it lands. The next secret weapon that you have is your intention. Why? Why do you want to speak your truth? Why do you want this to be heard? Why do you want to contribute in this way? Why is it important? And the great thing about his intention is that in some ways it can be a get out of jail free card. Because if you explain to someone what your intention is up front, then you're asking them, please hear me through this lens, through this filter. Now, you cannot use intention as a get out of jail free card and be an asshole. It's not my intention to upset you, but I think you're an idiot. That's not going to go well. If your intention is to make yourself bigger and make someone else look smaller, not going to go well. If your intention is to take the spotlight away from somebody, or it's to point out somebody's flaws or whatever it is, it's not going to go well. But if your intention is to contribute meaningfully or change something or stop something bad from happening or whatever, and you say to people, look, I know this might be controversial, but I feel like if I don't say it, I run the risk of allowing everybody to run into a fire, a burning building that they don't need to. So my intention here is to stop that from happening. And then you speak your truth. If they don't like it, that's okay. That's okay. But you know that your intention was correct. And the last secret weapon you have is self-belief. And the beautiful thing about self-belief is that it's not about confidence. These are two completely separate things. Confidence requires competence. Self-belief does not. Self-belief is simply a choice that you make. And it's believing that you can take a step off that cliff and you are not going to plummet to your death. That's all the self-belief is saying, you know what? I'm going to take a risk and I don't believe I'm going to die. And you take a step off that cliff and you discover that when you have the courage to do that, the ground has a way of coming up to meet your foot. And then you take another step and the ground comes up to meet your foot. And you can keep walking to anywhere you want in your own life if you just do one really important thing. Don't look down. Because if you look down, you will always see the drop. So just don't look down. Just eyes on the prize, keep moving forward and say, I believe that nothing bad's going to happen to me. I believe that I'm not going to die. And you will be amazed at what you're able to achieve. And those are the three secret weapons to unleashing your swagger into the world. I mean, the benefits are myriad, but those are the keys to doing it, is to the ability to speak your truth and live in your truth, understanding why it's important and be able to express that to other people, and believing that you have the right, the goddess, universal given right to be everything that you are in this life, and that nobody can tell you differently.
I love that you distinguish that self-belief isn't confidence, because I think people sometimes kind of confuse the two. Because, I always kind of think of one of my favorite quotes, and it's jump and the net will appear, right? And it's this kind of notion of like, I also think of Beyonce's song, what is it? I'm not a gambler, but I'm always going to bet on myself. And it's this notion of like, even though I might not have the competency, I know I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the self-belief comes from, because I know, even in times where I've kind of like starting Community of Seven, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I believe that I'm going to figure it out. I don't know what my business model is. I don't know how I'm going to make money, but I'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out. Listen, I have had about 9 different careers in my life. Each one I have been uniquely unqualified for. Like uniquely unqualified. And opportunities came my way. Life presented things to me. And I went, sure, I'll try it. That sounds fun. Sure, I'll do it. And for each one, I had no idea what I was doing. And I didn't pretend that I did. I was like, okay, I'll try it. I'll do it. I mean, I got my first TV hosting gig as a result of pitching TV concepts to a production company, because I was trying to sell TV ideas. I had no aspirations or no interest in being a TV host, but because when I went and did the pitch, I was all in and I had a lot of fun doing it. The guy who owned the production company said, oh, you know what? You should be on camera. I was like, hell yeah, I should be on camera. Absolutely. And they gave me a talk show, and I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, the learning curve was like, I got like whiplashed, but I did it. It was fun as hell.
In our previous interview, you mentioned that competency breeds confidence. Can you explain? Because I mean, we talk about self-belief, intention, truth, but how do you get confidence? And you mentioned it, competency.
Confidence is just you have to recognize your resume of awesome. Right? Sometimes we're so incredibly hard on ourselves, and the negative talk track is so powerful. And we forget that we actually do know what we're doing to some degree. It's like, if we have been doing something professionally, personally, whatever it is, and we've been doing it enough times to penetrate our highly resistant brains to get us to the point of go, actually, you could kind of throw me in a whole bunch of situations and I'd fundamentally know what I was doing. I could move to another organization and do what I'm doing. I could, you could kind of change it up a little bit and I'd still have this good baseline of understanding of what to do. Or you could take me into a whole new environment and I could transfer these skills to something else. Nobody can take that away from you. That's what confidence is. Confidence is like, yeah, okay, I got it. I'm good. There might be little aspects of unknown or whatever. That's what keeps us alive, right? It's the excitement of, learning. There's learning here. But I have underlying confidence. I know what I'm doing. But people don't give themselves the credit that is due. They somehow don't, they don't believe that they actually know what they know.
Yeah. It reminds me of a Michelle Obama quote. She was being interviewed and the reporter was like, how did it feel to be around such, you know, leaders, like amazing leaders? And she was like, you know, her response was, I've been around queens, kings, and what I've, you know, CEOs of companies, and what I've realized is they're not that smart. And it's just this kind of notion is that we put people on pedestal because they have a certain title or certain role, and you realize they're just like us.
Well,
They're
it's
still
not
trying
even
to
that
figure it out.
that they're not, you know, as smart as me or whatever. It's that they're no different from me.
Mm-hmm.
They're just human beings. They're just people who have
Yeah.
flaws just like me, who have dreams, who have insecurities just like me. I've been working with CEOs, so I've been doing what I do for about 15 years. And in the course of that, whether it's training or coaching or whatever, I've worked with CEOs of huge companies. And what's crazy is that A, is a woman, and B, I'm pretty old. I'm pushing 60. So I'm 50. I'll be 58 this year. So oftentimes I'm older than them too, which is really cool, you know, that I've lived more life than they have lived. And I sit down with them, and the first thing that I want to do is create something that's incredibly safe so we can have a real conversation. So inevitably both of us end up in tears. Like, it happens all the time. It doesn't matter whether they're male or female. We real talk, you know? And what I discover, you know, every single time is that they're all living in fear in some way, shape, or form. They're all insecure. They all want to do something great. They're all afraid they're not going to achieve it. They're all worried about the expectations that are on them. They're worried about disappointing their families. They're worried about disappointing their people. They're worried about disappointing the board of directors or the investors. They feel like they're going to be found out. They have so many questions, and they have no one to talk to. I mean, that's another thing you have to think about, is at that level, who are you going to talk to? You know, you're not going to go to a junior manager and say, "Oh, I'm really insecure today. I don't know what to do." You know, so they come to people like me to talk, and you discover, oh, we're the same. I feel you, brother. I feel you, sister. We are the same, and none of us is immune from that. So, you know, next time you encounter someone of that level that you're in awe of, just look them in the eye, and go, "I see you. You're just like me." You got pain, you got dreams, you got things that you're working on, things, and all of that stuff. We are all the same.
I love that. We have about 7 minutes left. Do you, so two options. I know
Ooh,
you were kind of thinking
exercise.
of doing an
Yeah.
activity, or we can open it up to Q&A. Totally on you, Leslie.
You know what? I leave it to people. Put in the chat. Do you want to do exercise, or do you want to do Q&A? Does anybody want to ask me questions? We could do some live swagger coaching, or we can do an exercise. Just barf it into the chat quickly, so we'll see
Let's
what
do the
people want to do.
exercise. Let's do the exercise. I've
Got
seen
it.
exercise a few times.
Okay. So exercise, here's what we're going to do. So I'm going to take us back here. Hold on, let me just go back so that you can see all of the swagger blockers. Okay, so everyone can see the swagger blockers. I want you to, for each of the swagger blockers, I want you to rate each one on a scale of 1 to 10 based on how much of a blocker you think it is for you personally. I want you to jot down, just do a little quick jot down. You can go deeper into this exercise after we're done, because you should. This is a great exercise to do. Answer why. Why are you particularly stuck in that blocker, or you're going to be stuck in all of them, but to what degree? And most importantly, and here comes the actionable, micro learning part of it, is what's one thing you can do to work through that blocker. Just one thing. It can be small, it can be big, make it doable. So scale of 1 to 10 for each one, why you're stuck in that blocker in that way, and one thing that you could do to start to work through it. I will put the blockers in the chat, okay? Okay, our spelling is reasonably correct. Okay, so they are in the chat, your blockers.
So with 10 being on the extreme?
Yeah, 10 is the
okay.
worst. 10 is I am stuck, like in quicksand. 1 is, nah, I'm good.
Okay.
Hopefully that's a little easier to see.
And for those who are on live stream, you could type in your answer in the comments for those who are on live stream.
So I'm looking to see what the general consensus is here. Oh, so interesting. See, everybody's different. We've got some people who persona ambition, no problem. And then fear and pain are big. We've got some people for whom insecurity is the highest. Some people it's the lowest.
It's also interesting because I'm looking at this. It probably depends on how the stage in life you're in, right?
Yes,
Because
can be.
persona and ambition was maybe more important to me when I was younger, but it not that it means nothing to me, but
Yeah, but you've worked through it.
Fear and
You've worked
parent
through it.
is more like losing financial securities is a fear, right? Because you have a family. But like persona ambition is not as important, even though that was probably more important when I was younger.
Yeah, remember, I mean, we're keeping this in the context of the fear that you have of unleashing the real you. You know, where is the real you getting stuck, kind of thing. So I think yes, if you have lived longer and experienced more, you've probably worked through a lot of that persona, you know, and ambition stuff because you've achieved what you wanted to achieve or what you believe that you're going to achieve thus far, and you're good with it, you know. And that this is why people like me are, you know, crotchety old people, like they don't give a shit. You're like, they don't care, boobs are hanging free, you know, granny sandals, I don't care, I got paint in my hair, I don't, you know, I just don't care in the same way. I love saying to people, this is it, this is what you get, all this, you know. I'll put on a little lippy and stuff, I mean, I like looking pretty, but you know, I just as often you will see me not, you know, with a
Yeah.
little lippy and whatever.
Well, it's interesting because Grace kind of mentions in the board that she was kind of the opposite, that she was more secure when she was younger and insecure now. So what would
Oh.
you say to someone who is the reverse?
Is this in the context of looking for work? That the challenge is looking for work? Because it says younger, I was more secure, being older, looking for position. I'm feeling. Is this like position in the world, like your space in the world that you feel like you take up less space, or is it looking for work, Grace? Just professional work. Yeah. It's incredibly challenging. But here's the thing, though, is that you have such an advantage when you're older because you have something that every young, vibrant, amazing, just coming at it person doesn't have. And that's a little thing we like to call wisdom. Not possible to have wisdom when you're young. You can have smarts, you can have, you know, intuition, but you can't have wisdom. Wisdom only comes with age. So you got to learn to work that and position it in the context of what your contribution can be that no young person can make. It's about understanding your superpowers. What are your superpowers and working them like a mofo as opposed to going, hi, I know I'm older and I know that you're looking for younger, or I know that there are downsides or whatever. You're like, let me tell you why you want to have someone with my level of wisdom and experience on your team. That's about, again, speaking your truth in such a way that other people can hear it. All
So
about the
Leslie,
reframe.
it's 4 o'clock, so I know a lot of people might have to bounce off. I'm fine with staying a little bit longer if you are, but if you have to run, let me know as well. It's 4 o'clock right now. Do you have to run, Leslie?
I've got 10 minutes. So
Okay, got 10 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
So for those who are, you know, we're making this a little extra mega version, micro learning. So kind of we've scored this on persona, ambition, insecurity, fear, pain. What next? What do we do once we kind of have that score?
So remember, we were gonna write down the why for ourselves, and we were gonna come up with one thing that we can do to start to change that. And every time we change one little thing, it gets a little easier. So write a one thing, then write another thing, and then write another thing. Sometimes we need to just start with a one thing, do it, and then go, oh, okay, I did that. What's another thing that I can do? And I encourage you all to make a laundry list. Sometimes you don't know what the next step is until you take the first step. So at least have a first step for everything. Do that, test it, see what it feels like, and then go, oh, I stepped into the abyss, right? Self-belief, and I didn't die. Okay, now what's the next thing that I can do? And the next thing. And then this same chart that you've created for yourself of your 1 to 10 and the why and the action steps, if you keep adding to it, in 3 months from now, I want you to reassess. Where am I now sitting on my blockers? Have I moved the dial? Are things differently? And you should have created an action plan, like a swagger action plan for yourself. What are the steps that I am going to take as I move forward? All of this stuff is in the book. There's exercises for everything. This is a little bonus exercise, but it really becomes your sort of swagger checklist and your action plan. And that's all you need. It's like anything in this life. Unleashing your swagger is no different than aspiring to get more physically fit or having a goal like climbing a mountain or learning how to paint or any of that thing. You've got to do the first step and then the second step and then the third step. And every time you do something, you build the competence that leads to confidence. And before you know it, you're like, that's it. I'm a swagger-filled badass. Check me out. But it's not going to be like you wake up one morning and go, that's it, swagger intact, in place. Not going to happen. So don't be disappointed and don't be surprised because it won't happen. You're going to have to take the steps, step by step by step, and build the competence that's going to lead to confidence while you're in that place of truth, intention, and self-belief.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I put in the comments, there's this book called Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. I think it's a great companion book to Swagger because he talks about creating these small little habits. That change doesn't happen. We think that, change is this huge kind of like metamorphosis, but a lot of times it's these tiny habits. And so I like that idea of what Leslie's saying is kind of identify the things, the blockers, and then what are the habits that are going to kind of move you closer to who the real you is. And small daily habits are consistent is powerful. So guys, you guys know the deal. Put this in gallery mode. I put the link. If you haven't bought Swagger, purchase it. It is an amazing, amazing book. I've also kind of listed Leslie's website. Make sure when you buy the book, you also rate it. So if you buy it on Amazon, after you read the book,
Yes,
make sure
please.
you rate it because that's how it rises up in the ranks. How else can we help you, Leslie?
Oh, come follow me on social media. Come follow me on Instagram at Leslie M Speaks. Because on a regular basis, anybody who knows me on social knows that first of all, I make a total fool of myself and I love it. But every single day I share, motivational quotes, swagger tips, excerpts from the book, quotes from people that I admire, little videos, just stuff to continue to support you on your swagger journey. Plus, you can talk to me there. Talk to me. I'm there. I'm available. I'm not fancy. I'm just like, hey, hey girl, hey. So just come message me, talk to me, ask me questions. I'm in my absolute place of purpose. I absolutely love human beings. And if I can be in service of unleashing everyone's potential, my legacy is fulfilled. That's all I want to do in this life. And I am so lucky to be able to do it. So please let me do what I do. Ask me for stuff.
Well, you are definitely doing God's work. You are something special. So everyone, put this in gallery mode. Please turn on for those who are in the live Zoom audience, turn on your video cameras, turn off your mute. So unmute yourself and give Leslie a big round of applause. She deserves it. Leslie! Yay! Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me again.
And we got so many great responses in the comments. You've inspired so many people today, Leslie. Thank you for the good work that you're doing. Thank you, everyone, for making it. Get your swagger on.
Go
Make
get
sure
your
you buy the
swagger
book.
on.
Thank you.
Bye,
Stay safe,
everyone.
everyone. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.